recording.
Welcome to Coaches on Calls Getting Coffee. And there she is with her coffee, Tiffany Turner of Tiffany Turner Coaching and Jess Lilly of Jess Lilly Coaching. Thank you for being the pilot inaugural visitor of Coaches on Calls Getting Coffee.
Thank you for being the source that created Coaches on Calls Getting Coffee and inviting me.
My pleasure. My intention with Coaches on Calls Getting Coffee is to spend time drinking coffee with people I like best in the world, and you're one of those people. Another intention for Coaches on Calls Getting Coffee is to share with the world what it's like being a coach, what is coaching, and also discuss issues that come up in our own lives as coaches and also issues that come up with clients, but mostly to have fun.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, T.
Call me T.
What is coaching to you? What is coaching?
I have spent a lot of time trying to figure out the right way to tell people what coaching is. There's so many different types of coaching out there, and it's a really amalgamous blob of a concept or just simply a word that has a ton of meaning of what it is and isn't. And coaching for me is ontological-based coaching. So looking at who people are being in any given circumstance. And when people ask me what it is, I ask them, are you being curious right now? Like when people want to know more, it's really easy to just ask, like, who are you being right now? So the work that excites me the most in coaching is looking at the gaps where people aren't in integrity of being who they want to be and being a support structure and an accountability structure to them being the best version of themselves that they already have a vision for, or sometimes even helping them generate that vision and getting really clear about who it is that they want to be. Because we are currently living in a space that has us so tied to our titles that when we take away parent, child, content editor, like when we take away the thing, friend, the things that you are known by in title, it seems to be a pretty common pattern that people feel a little lost about who they are. So helping people get really clear about who they want to be and then the gaps to being that person.
And T, who are you being right now?
I'm excited. I'm being excited. I've got a lot of energy in my hands and my feet. I can feel myself just wanting to get my energy out and just share with the world or however many people will watch this what coaching is.
I want to go on every type of adventure with you, including this exploring what coaching is and putting it out there in the world. And what I love what you said about your kind of description about coaching is that you've been trying hard to get it right. And that is so related to the topic of conversation that we wanted to explore, which is perfection. And I think it's a very appropriate topic for our very first Coaches on Calls Getting Coffee, because this is putting this out there without the polish, without a set or whatever things I imagine people might need. This is an example of me trying to tear down the walls of perfection that have previously kind of kept me in a box. So, T, how does perfection show up for you and the people that you've been coaching?
Perfection shows up in a bunch of different ways. I noticed that a lot of people that don't actually identify as I'm a perfectionist, they still have qualities of perfectionism show up in certain places or parts of their life. And it takes being really curious without judgment and being really curious without an agenda to just look around and be aware if patterns of perfectionism are showing up in different places for people. Some of the places that I see it most often are in control. That's probably the biggest one. Like people that are like, I don't know how life is going to work if I don't know exactly what's happening.
Other people. Yeah, other people are like,
oh, right. I have that myself, just to be clear. No, and I mean, control is totally, it's a pattern that shows up in my life all over the place. Does it show up for you? Do you have control, perfectionism, both?
Yes. I'd say that the way that control shows up for me is one way that it shows up for me is needing to make sure that, I already know how the world is going to react to something, as if I could really survey everybody. But I really do try to survey all of the human beings. So the most recently, the example of what you encouraged me to do, to put a GoFundMe page up online, you were someone who stood for me to just go for it, even though I hadn't, surveyed all the people I care about and anyone I respected to make sure that it wouldn't tarnish my reputation for all eternity or anything like that. So that was certainly taking a poll is definitely one way that I try to control the outcome and make sure that I know that everything will be okay.
For the viewers,
but I haven't broken the ice. What'd you say?
For the viewers, would you share how the GoFundMe went?
Oh, yes, for the viewers. The GoFundMe experience went so beautifully. It was basically, I had the opportunity to raise the remainder of my tuition for Accomplishment Coaching, the coach training program that we're a part of. And I, raised $1,000 in a day and a half and only received support, only received positive feedback. I must think that there are terribly cruel people everywhere, because I was certain that people were going to troll me for this. But I literally only got love and support and emojis of thumbs up and, things that only made me want to, be more adventurous with my coaching practice and with my friendships and with my life. So I think that GoFundMe page was the warm up to Coaches on Calls Getting Coffee. So thanks to T for encouraging me to do it and for always being willing to, take a leap, dive into the deep end with me.
I love diving into the deep end.
I know, it's so fun.
So more perfectionism. Yes. Maybe can we highlight some more perfectionism?
Please.
Yeah, I have it that you probably see so a concept that's super common in coaching is if you spot it, you got it. So the things that I spot most easily are probably going to be different than the things that Jess spots most easily. So some of the other things that I see more easily in perfectionism, control is definitely the biggest one. There's a lot of avoidance. People will avoid doing the big scary thing because perfectionists are I need to do it right. Really basic perfectionist concept of needing to do it right. So there's a ton of different ways that people avoid doing it altogether in service of their perfectionism cycle and just continuing to cement it. If you continue that same cycle or pattern of avoiding behavior so that you can do it just right, you continue to make that cycle stronger and reinforce it and cement it. So something that I find myself suggesting quite often to folks that are experiencing perfectionism in that way is to literally do anything different. You already know how it's going to go. You already know what that cycle looks like or the pattern looks like. So do anything in any part of it in any way different, because that'll break it up and you can have it. You have no idea what's going to come if you change the cycle, but it's reliable to stay the same if you don't change something.
So T, what's something that you've done to just do something different in your cycles?
Good question. So I really want you guys, I'm sitting in my home. I just moved into this home. I feel so fortunate for having such a beautiful home, and I want to share it. And I had been wanting to open up my home to people in the community to come over for yoga and coaching. And I literally spent months talking about it, posting videos on Instagram about how I was gonna follow through and do it. And it took months for me to be like, oh my God, I need to just do this. I need to get over all of the, what if no one shows up? What if it's a total failure? What if people show up and they don't get anything out of it and they're mad at me for it? I had to get over all of that. And I ended up having 5 people at the house, and it was beautiful. I feel so capable on a new level now that I just did it. So
congratulations. That's a huge deal.
Yeah, there was a lot of designing behind the whiteboard. Thinking that I needed to do certain things in a certain order. I need to go to yoga studios and I need to tell the people that do yoga all about this so that I can get the signups. And so there was a lot of perfection. I don't actually identify as a perfectionist, but I was saying.
I love that. It's I I don't identify as a perfectionist. I just dabble. I'm just, a hobby.
Just one finger in the pool. In the perfection.
I do identify as a perfectionist. So
what's the stuff that shows up for you?
Let me see if there's anything else. Your description of waiting until, avoiding until that very, until you really take the plunge. Sometimes I call something perfectionism when it's really just it's marinating on the idea. Sometimes there is genuinely I'm avoiding jumping into something, writing something, calling someone, executing some kind of idea. But sometimes I really do feel like there's a value. And this is this is something that my brain will, this is a very convincing argument that my brain will make that no, there's really this sincere value in waiting around because my brain is doing some unconscious work with these ideas and it's really going to be even better on the other side. So sometimes, I relate to that, but I truly do understand that for the most part, that's just an excuse for not just biting the bullet and jumping in.
What else?
What else is happening with perfectionism?
Oh, wait, Jess, can I spot check real quick? You said at the beginning of this that your intention is to have fun. I just wanted to check in. Are you having fun?
I'm having fun. I'm having a lot of fun.
Great.
I'm noticing the connection of perfectionism and self-compassion. Because in any given moment that I'm holding myself to an extremely high standard or some imaginary standard, I can, one of the things that I can do to melt that is just being wow, you're doing great. Jess, good job. You're doing great. You're trying this new thing. Just, one day at a time with it. But I also, self-compassion can also come in the form of, you are relating to this from a perfectionist standpoint, and that's okay. That obviously means you care a lot about it. And so have some love around that it's something that you just deeply care about. So specific examples I'm having trouble coming up with, but those are some of the ideas that flow through my mind related to perfectionism.
Yeah.
T, what about you? Are you having fun?
Oh, yeah. I'm some perfectionism that's showing up for me right now is that I'm thinking, wow, we know so many strategies for how people show up to try to be perfect. And I wish I had a whole list of them and I could just tell you all of them, but there's it's sneaky, that perfectionist thing, we couldn't possibly have a complete list. So I'm having fun, and I hope that whoever watches this is getting something out of it for themselves.
And Tiffany, what value have you gotten from the opportunity to talk about perfectionism and be together on Coaches on Calls Getting Coffee?
I've never done anything like this, so a huge value that I'm getting is doing something new and doing something outside of my comfort zone of what I already know. And we've got an echo. And I'm getting it.
Oh, is the echo over here?
Yeah. What value are you getting?
The value that I'm getting is to, first of all, spend time with you. As I said, you're one of my favorite people, and I'm always down to go on an adventure with you. I'm also noticing I'm getting a lot of value in noticing how I show up when we hit record. So it's like, wow, like that actually affects my way of being. Because all of a sudden there's this, third party who might have some kind of opinion. But you want to know what? I have a feeling that person would be delighted to see that we are having fun and talking about coaching and putting ourselves out there. So that's the value I'm getting from it. And also,
yeah,
I'm having a good time.
And who doesn't want some delicious coffee?
I love it. And Tiffany, I want to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for being the spark for me and so many people. I want to acknowledge you for being an extraordinary coach and for someone who models the playfulness and experimental attitude toward this new adventure that we're on as coaches, supporting people in fulfilling their biggest goals in life. And I want to acknowledge you for being heart, for being brilliant and one of the most powerful and kind people I know.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks for joining this. This is your brainchild, and I think that the opportunity to share ontological work with people and like patterns of things that come up in ontological work is like the opportunity to impact a higher number of people. It's like, I mean, that's the goal for most people that go into coaching, right? Like, it's not a greed of getting rich. It's how do we change people's lives and how do we impact people in meaningful ways to help them live happier and live healthier. And like, this is such a beautiful design to go and impact more people. So thank you for creating the vision and making it happen and being in action and not worrying about it being just perfect and doing it. So thank you for generating this.
All right. Thanks, Tiffany. And I'll talk to you next time.
All right.
All right. Bye.